Good morning, students. Welcome back to the channel The Science Geek. Hope you must have seen the first part of the video of the lesson, the morphology of the flowering plants. In the previous part, we had done about the floral parts, outer floral parts of the plant, the root, the shoot, the leaf, phallotexy, inflorescence, right? In this part of the video, we will be dealing with the inner world of the plant or of a particular flower. So first of all, you all have to draw a diagram which is given in your NCERT book, figure 5.14. I'm showing that figure 5.14. This is the particular figure where all the parts of the flower are drawn. That is the outer part of the flower we call the outer worlds and the inner worlds, and they all are arranged in a systematic manner. If you see the diagram, the stalk of the flower is called as the pedicel. Above this is a swollen structure called the thalamus. Then the green-like structure is there called as the sepal. Then you will see the colorful petals there. The petals are also called as corolla. The sepals are also called as the calyx. Sepals are the individual unit of calyx. Petals are the individual unit of corolla. Now, the inner to them are arranged the female reproductive part, that is the gynoecium, which is made up of style, stigma and ovary, and the male reproductive part, that is the androecium, which is made up of filament, also the stalk or the anther, which carries the pollen grain. So I'm holding this figure here to show you that this is the first important figure which you all should draw. Sit with a notebook and a pen, because again I say a subject is learned by reading, writing and speaking. So this is the first figure to be drawn. After this, the things which we will do in this part of the video will be parts of the flower, where it will be the sepals, the calyx, the outer one, then the corolla, the petals and their arrangement in a flower. After that will be the androecium, the types of androecium and its arrangement, and then the gynoecium. After we complete the inner part of the flower, we come to a term called as estivation. That is how the petals are arranged in a particular flower with diagram. Then that figure is figure 5.15 in your NCERT book. Then we come to another term called as placentation. That is how the arrangement of the ovules inside an ovary. How are they arranged? The diagram is figure 5.16 in your textbook. Then we come to the last part of the lesson, the fruit. What is a fruit? How it is formed, the economic importance of a fruit, and that is all. What is a fruit, the types of fruit, and what is a parthenocarpic fruit. Okay, and then it is the seed, the types of seed, the monocot seed and the dicot seed, and with their figures are there in the textbook. And the last page of your lesson tells about the floral formula of a flower. Like we have a signature, man has a signature to sign to give his identity. So how does a flower, how do we come to know a flower, to which family it belongs, what is its salient features? For that, the last page of the lesson is there, the semi-technical terms telling about the floral description of a flower with the floral formula, how to draw it from outer to inner. We call it as the floral diagram. And they are giving you 3 families in your textbook which you have to see. And if in your practicals you do, it will be more clear to you. So now I start with the outer wall of the flower, that is the calyx. Now what is this calyx? This calyx is the first feature. It is the outermost wall of the flower. Then the individual units are called as sepals. Then these sepals are generally green in color. They are leaf-like and they protect the inner walls of the flower. If they are green in color, then their function will be photosynthesis and to some extent transpiration. And if they are colored, they help in pollination. Then we come to the types of calyx. There are 2 types of calyx. These terms, polysepalous and gamosepalous. Gamosepalous means when the sepals are united. Gamosepalous, united. Polysepalous means when the sepals are free, they are not united. Gamosepalous and polysepalous, right? This is all about sepals, the outer wall of the flower. That is the diagram which you have seen there. Then we come to the second part of the wall of the flower, that is the corolla, the individual unit called as the petals. Now, the petals lies inner to the calyx. Now, these petals are brightly colored, they help in pollination, and like the sepals, the petals can also be gamopetalous and polypetalous. Gamo means united petals, poly means free petals. Okay. Now the shape and color of the corolla may vary from flower to flower, and the corolla can be of various shapes. It can be tubular shape, it can be bell shape, it can be funnel shape. Right? That is the speciality of the corolla. What shape it can be. Now you please come to the figure of estivation. That is figure 5.15. I show you here. Figure 1.15. This four figures 1, 2, 3, 4. The four figures of estivation of a flower, and they are shown you the petals below, and they are shown you the technical drawing of estivation, how it is done and how you have to draw it. Here, first you have to define what is estivation. Estivation is the mode of arrangement of the sepals or petals in a floral bud with respect to the other members of the same world, and that is known as estivation. This estivation it is mainly concerned with the arrangement of the sepals and the petals in respect to the other members of the world. That is the gynoecium and androecium. So basically there are four types which you will see. Now the first one is called as valvate. Valvate, V-A-L-V-A-T-E. That is here the petals are close to each other but they don't overlap. They are very close to each other but they don't overlap. Example is mustard, brassica. Valvate. Second is twisted. That is the regular overlapping of the petals occur in margin of one petal to that of the other. And the example is hibiscus, China rose. If you can take a China rose flower and see how they are arranged, one inside, one outside. So twisted. Third one is imbricate. Imbricate. That is there are total 5 petals. The arrangement is 1 plus 1 plus 3. Like this you will remember, 1 plus 1 plus 3. That is the one is completely external, another one is completely internal, and the other 3 are partially external, partially internal. So you break it as 1 plus 1 plus 3. The example for this is cassia. Cassia. Next one is vexillary. Vexillary. Important estimation it is. That is this one, the last one. This last one is vexillary. The first one which you saw is valvate, second one is twisted, third one is imbricate, and the last one is vexillary. Here what is the arrangement of the petals and sepal is the largest petal overlaps the 2 lateral petals, which in turn overlap the 2 smallest anterior petals. That is known as vexillary. And papilionaceous family, the poppy family, the papilionaceous family, they have this vexillary arrangement of petals and sepals. So that is about estivation in short. So we started with flower. Flower is it arises in the axil of the plant of the stem. The flowers can also be bracteate and ebracteate. Bract is another structure found in a flower. If it is having that, we call it bracteate. If not, we call it ebracteate. Then the flower also we say, what is it? It is a modified shoot because of the position of the buds in the flower, and the shoot can be same. It can be terminal or it can be axillary. The flower is a modified shoot, either at the tip or at the axillary. Okay, and this you are studied in a little bit in inflorescence. How do the flowers arise? Acropetal way, basipetal way, cymose and racemose, if you recollect the previous one. Okay, and then the flower, the diagram which you see, it has a solen part which is known as the thalamus. The thalamus consists of the different walls of the flower, and then I told you about those 4 walls which I told you, right? So in brief, what is the flower, what are the 4 walls of the flower and how they are arranged, and what is the arrangement of petals and sepals called as. So we started with calyx, then we went to corolla, then we came to estivation. Now the next word of the flower, an important word of the flower, is the male reproductive organ, that is the androecium, which in gymnosperms and angiosperms, angiosperm is a flowering family, gymnosperm is a non-flowering family. Angiosperms are also given by a term called as the microsporangium, which contains the microspores, that is the anthers. And the gynoeciums are also called as megasporangium, which produces the megaspores, and that is the female part. And this bifurcation of megaspores and microspores is very important to show the life cycle of the flower. Like in the previous lesson was there, gametophyte stage, sporophyte stage, or both in combination, haplodiploidic, haplobiontic or haplodiploidic. This, if you can recollect, this is related to the sexual cycle of a flower because that starts only after fertilization. So androecium. The androecium is the very important part of the flower. It is divided into the stamen and the individual unit is called a stamen. The stamen is divided into filament and anther, and in the anther is the anther sac, and in the anther sac are the pollen grains, and it is these pollen grains which go and land on the stigma of the flower to give rise to pollination, which is of two types, self and cross. Now, here some arrangement of the stamens are there, and if the sterile stamen is found in a flower, we call it as staminode. A sterile stamen is called as a staminode, that is without anther. And the stamens can be of different types depending upon the union with the other members such as the petals, and as per their different types, they can be epipetalous, in which the stamens are attached to the petals. Brinjal, if you can see brinjal flower, the stamens are attached to the petals. Second, when the stamens are attached to the perianth of the flower, it is called epiphyllous. First one is epipetalous, petalous, stamen plus petal. Epiphyllous, stamen plus the perianth of the flower. Example is lily. Third is polyandrous, that is the stamens of the flower remain free. Polyandrous, they remain free. And the example here is not that much important. You just keep in mind epipetalous and epiphyllous. Epipetalous is where the stamens are attached to the petals, brinjal. The stamens, when they are attached to the perianth, it is called as epiphyllous. And polyandrous, when the stamens in a flower remain free, okay, and to a variable degree. Next one is another two important term over here is how the stamens are fused together, whether they form one bundle or two bundles. So the stamens can be united in a bunch to form one bundle. That time we call them as monoadelphous. Monoadelphous. An example is China rose. And when the filaments are grouped in two bundles, we call them as diadelphous. And example is pea. And more than two is polyadelphous. That is the citrus plant or the citrus family. This was all about the arrangement of the androecium. Please remember it. Three terms: epipetalous, epiphyllous, monoadelphous, diadelphous, with example. Next part of the flower is the gynoecium, the female reproductive part of the flower. Now this gynoecium is made up of one or more carpels, or we also call them as megasporangium. These megasporangium produce the megaspores, and a particular carpel is divided into stigma, style and ovary. Now, the stigma is the receptive part of the pollen grain, where the pollen grain comes and lands on it. And there, if you remember, in a 10th standard, you must have read chemotropism. That is this mechanism that chemicals are produced at the tip of the stigma and the pollen grains land on it, and a pollen tube is formed on the inner side of the style, which goes and fuses with the flower, and the fertilization takes place. Okay, now style is the stalk-like structure found there, and ovary is the most enlarged basal part of the and gynoecium. Okay, now each ovary now bears one or more locule-like structure or beads-like structures. Those beads-like structures are called as ovules, and the arrangement of those beads in that plant, in a flower, in a ovary, is, you will come to know by a special term. That term is called as placentation. Placentation. It's a special kind of tissue that is, each ovary bears one or more ovules which is attached to a flattened cushion-like tissue called as placenta. This placenta is there in female reproductive organ, that is 10th standard, which you have studied, where and how it is, that placenta is different and this placenta is different. Okay, but the role is one and the same. Okay, now depending on the number of the carpels present, the gynoecium can be again of two types: apocarpus and syncarpus. Apocarpus is when one or more carpels are present and they are free. Apocarpus. China rose, lotus. Sorry, not China rose, plain lotus and rose. That is called apocarpus. When one or more petals, carpels are there and they are free. They are not united. Apocarpus. So next one is syncarpus. When the carpels are fused together to the gynoecium, they are called as syncarpus. Example is brinjal. And hibiscus. Now, as I said, this placenta, very important, and the placenta, the figure is there in your book. Come to the word placenta, types of placenta, figure 5.16. This is the figure seen in your book. You have to draw all these placentas, and then only the understanding will be very clear. Right? Now, what is placenta and how are the ovules arranged there? The placenta is a tissue which develops along the inner walls of the ovary, first point. The ovules remain attached to the placenta, second point. The arrangement of the ovules within the ovary is called as placentation. Arrangement of the ovules within the walls of the ovary is called as placentation. Now, this placentation are of the following types. With example, figure 5.16 here in NCERT book. First one is marginal. If you can see the figure, marginal. That is the pea, a pea plant. When the placenta forms a ridge along the ovary and the ovules are born on the ridge along the two rows. Marginal placentation. Very clear diagram, P. Next one is exile. Exile. A-X-I-L-E. When the placenta is exiled, the ovules are attached to the ovary in this particular manner, right? China rose. Third is parietal. When the ovules develop on the inner walls of the ovary, on the peripheral part, the diagram is clear, part figure C of 5.16 NCERT, that is called as parietal. Example is mustard. Next one is figure D, that D1 is free central. Free central. When the ovules are born on the central axis and the placenta is called as free central. Dianthus and primrose is the example. The last one is basal. 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 The placenta develops at the base of the ovary and a single ovule is attached to it. Example is sunflower and marigold. So this placentation is very important. They ask this in exam, what is placenta, what is the role of placenta, and give the types of placenta. Here many terms are there. Okay, so you have to keep in mind the terms which is found there. Now, next important word here is, as per the position of the floral part on the thalamus, a flower is divided into three types. The three types are hypogynous flower, epigynous flower, and perigynous flower. So please write all these three. If the question is, give the as per the position of the floral parts of the thalamus, what are the three types of flowers found? The answer is, as per the arrangement of the floral parts on the thalamus, the swollen structure, the three types of flowers are, number one is hypogynous. Hypo means superior. The thalamus is conical shaped or dome shaped and the ovary is present at the top of the thalamus. The stamen, petals and sepals are separate and successfully inserted below the ovary. The ovary is the most superior one here. So hypogynous it is called as, and the rest structures are inferior here. So very important, what is hypogynous and what are the features of it? Example is brassica and hibiscus. Next particular type is perigynous. Perigynous means half. 50-50, half inferior and half superior. The margin of the thalamus grows towards forming a cup-like structure called a calyx tube, and the tube encloses the ovary but remains free from it, and the sepals, petals and stamens are present in it. The ovary is half inferior, we call it, and the example is rose, plum and peach. Third type of flower is there that's called as epigynous flower. I think the diagram of all this is not given in your book, it is not given in your textbook, or no, it's not given in your textbook. Okay, it's not given in your textbook. Epigynous flower, where the thalamus grows upwards to completely cover the ovary and also fused. The other floral parts are born at the top of the thalamus and the ovary. The ovary here is inferior and the other parts are coming on the top of the ovary. So we call it as epigynous flower. Example is cucurbita and apple. Cucurbita and apple. So this is the bifurcation of floral parts on the thalamus, how they are and what are the types. Okay. Now we come to, like an animal body is there. If you have read in 10th standard, the symmetry of an animal body, it was told as radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry, if you recollect. So here also the plant is having a symmetry. That is how you can cut a flower into equal parts. Along which plane? One plane or any plane. You will get two equal parts, right part and left part. Okay. So as per that, we divide it into two types, actinomorphic and zygomorphic. Actinomorphic is that type of flower when it is exactly divided into two equal halves by any one vertical section passing through the center of the flower. And it is also called as radial symmetry, actinomorphic. Example is mustard and dhatura. Next one is zygomorphic. The flower is divided into two identical halves through only one particular plane. Therefore, it is called as bilateral, one particular plane. Therefore, also called as bilateral symmetry, zygomorphic. Example is cassia. Cassia. Okay. This is about the what? Symmetry of a flower. So these particular parts got over. Parts of a flower, estivation, placentation. Now I come to fruit and the last part, the seed. Now you turn to the page 76 of your book and see the structure of the fruit, and below that is also seed. When we will do the seed part, below that is also the seed part, monocot and dicot seed. Okay, now the fruit is the most characteristic part of a flower, remember that. And the fruit is nothing but a mature ovary. A ripened ovary is called a fruit. Now when a fruit is formed after fertilization. So some changes takes place before fertilization and some changes takes place after fertilization. Seed is the result of fertilization. Okay, the seed is the result of fertilization. So during fertilization, some important changes takes place in the ovary. If they ask you, what are the important changes taking place in the ovary during fertilization? Number one, the ovules present in the ovary develops into seed. Ovules change into seed and the walls of the ovary thicken and they ripen into the fruit wall. Fruit wall, also called as the pericarp. P-R-I-C-A-R-P, pericarp. Okay, now the ovary, after these changes, when all these changes takes place, seed is formed, fruit wall is formed, that ripened ovary is called as a fruit. Okay, now if a fruit is formed without fertilization, or it is called, that fruit is called as a parthenocarpic fruit. A fruit formed without fertilization is called as a parthenocarpic fruit. Okay, now the fruit consists of pericarp, it consists of seeds. Okay, the pericarp can be dry or it can be fleshy. Now, the three parts of a fruit you can see there as epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. In your diagram, you can see that. It is given in your book, in your diagram. Epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. Okay. Now, sometimes the fruits are also various types. I can give the names of them: simple fruits, aggregate fruits, multiple fruits. Okay, now what is a simple fruit? A fruit which develops from the single compound ovary is called as a simple fruit. Okay, the pericarp is dry here. What is an aggregate fruit? Means a collection of fruitlets. That is, an aggregate fruit is a group of fruitlets which develop from a flower and from an apocarpous ovary. That is the aggregate fruit. Okay, now what is a multiple fruit? A fruit which develops from an entire inflorescence. The entire inflorescence is responsible to give rise to the fruit. And the multiple fruit is composed of many associated fruits. And such kind of fruits are also called as pseudocarpic fruits. So, simple fruits, aggregate fruits, and pseudocarpic fruit. What is a fruit? Parts of the fruit. And what is a parthenocarpic fruit, right? And that is the fruit part I told you. Now we quickly come to the seed part. Now, the last page of the lesson, structure of a monocot seed and structure of a dicot seed. Okay? All this part of the lesson, seed part. Now, what is a seed? A ripened ovule which contains an embryo or a tiny plant with sufficient reserve food for the development of the embryo is called as a seed. Okay? Now, there are two types of seed, dicot and monocot. Now, dicot seeds are when they possess two cotyledons. Okay, like for example, gram is there. Gram is an example of dicot seed. Okay, two cotyledons are there. Cotyledons store the food there. Then you can see two structures there called as the plumule and radicle there in your book. Plumule gives rise to the shoot, radicle gives rise to the root. Now, what is the structure of a dicot seed? The feature: first, this type of seed is light or dark brown in color. Second, the surface can be smooth or wrinkled. Third, oval scar is present in the side, which is called as hilum, Hilum, hilum. Then it is next is the outer hard and leathery part of the coat is sometimes called as testa, and the inner thinner part of the layer is called as tegument. Testa and tegument. So in some seeds the testa and tegument are fused. Another thing is the seed coat encloses the embryo, which is differentiated into radicle, plumule and cotyledons. The radicle develops into the root, the plumule into the shoot, cotyledons serve as the reserve food. Okay, now that is this part. If they ask you in exam that what is endosperm, how it is formed, your answer should be endosperm is formed after double fertilization. The endosperm is the food storing tissue, and some plants are there where like bean, gram and pea which don't have an endosperm in the mature seed, and they are non-endospermic seeds. So dicot seed, structure of a dicot seed. And what is the seed? Told you. Now we come to monocot seeds. The seed which has one cotyledon is called as a monocot seed. The monocot seeds are endospermic, but some are non-endospermic. And the examples are maize, where the seeds coat is membranous and fuse with the fruit wall. What is the feature of a monocot seed? First is the endosperm is bulky and it stores the food, and also the embryo is small and is situated in the groove at one end of the endosperm. It consists of a large shield-shaped cotyledon, okay, and which is also known as scutellum, and it also has a short plumule and radicle. Okay, the plumule and radicle enclosed in sheath are called as coleoptile and coleorhiza. Coleoptile and coleorhiza. The plumule and radicle are enclosed in a sheath, and that time they are called as coleoptile and coleorhiza. Coleoptile is the terminal pore of where the first leaf, coleoptile part, from where what happens there, the first leaf comes out from there, and the sheath is capable of growth. It helps the future shoot in passing through the soil during germination, and if the grains are covered with a single hard covering, and that is a monocot seed. And the figure of a monocot seed is given here in your book. I told you these terms I told you, these terms I told you, radicle, coleorhiza, coleoptile, all these terms I just now told you. Okay, these are the terms, very important, and you have to draw these terms in your book. Now you turn the page and we come to the last part of the lesson quickly in 2 minutes. The last page of the lesson is semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant. Now, because the name of the lesson was morphology of a flowering plant, so for the morphology of a flowering plant, at the end, when we want to describe a complete flower, what we will do, we have to give them some symbols. Those symbols are given here, which you will kindly read. The plant is described by beginning with its habit, then the floral characters, the inflorescence and the floral parts. Now, the floral diagram and the floral formula are represented at the bottom. The diagram is given on figure 5.20 is the diagram given. The floral formula are like B capital R small, bracteate. If it is K, it is for calyx. If it is for C, it is for corolla. If it is P, it is perianth. A for androecium. G for gynoecium. And the symbols like positive and negative, like if it is like this is the female part, and it is like this is the male part. Female flower, female part the gynoecium, male part the androecium. Okay, and then if the flower is bisexual, it is denoted like this and like this. If the flower is bisexual, this is female, this is male, and this is bisexual. Okay, and the number of androecium, if it is there, how the number of androeciums are there, and as per their words, how many types are there, that can also be denoted like if you can read the whole paragraph of the book, the position where it is there on the last page. I am not going in detail. You all can kindly read it and do it in your practicals. Especially in your book, they have given you 3 families here. One is Fabaceae, this one. Second one is Solanaceae, that is this one. And the third one is Liliaceae, this one. Okay, so this is done for the practicals. This is done for the practicals. So your teachers must be showing it to you. So now in brief, I complete this video. Today we did with the flower, the parts of the flower, calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium with their types. Remember those terms. Then aestilation, figure and their types. Valvate, imbricate, twisted, axillary. Then placenta, what is placenta, role of placenta and their types. Okay, the figure I showed you. Then fruit, what is a fruit? Figure of a fruit and parthenocarpic fruit and some terms like multiple fruit, aggregate fruit. Okay, and then we did with seed. seed, monocot seed, dicot seed, their differences. And in the end, the floral formula of the flower. I hope it was a short and a nice recap of the lesson. So thank you. Keep reading, keep watching, keep subscribing the Science Key. Thank you, students.